Hey guys, I'm Dr. McFarland, and in this video, we're going to look at a rig I made during my recent live stream for June 2024 HTS rigs. And those rigs are available to download on my website for a one-time fee, and you get all past, present, and future rigs I ever build. And really, I like the concept of this rig that I made, so I'm going to expound on it just a little bit more and give you a few extra rigs so you can download for this month's HTX Rigs course, just to give some added value and some extra teaching opportunities here. So what I have in this rig is pretty quite simple. I have a reverb and a delay, first of all, so I can have some good space in the sound. Then I have a single amp, and this is the A2 Lead 800 bass mod. You can choose probably, the Bright, the TS mod. I mean, there's all kinds of options in here. This is just one example that you can do when you go download the rig for yourself, and you can experiment a little bit more by switching out the amps, which I'll actually do a little bit later in this video. Here recently, I've been drawn to the 2x12 B30, which is a vintage 30 speaker and a Bogner type cabinet. I do have a Dyne 7, which is your SM7B type microphone, and it is off axis at this point. So here it is with it off, and here it is with it on. So it basically rolls off a little bit of the high end and just smooths out a little bit of the brightness. But if you want that extra bite, then go right ahead and put it on axis. And I don't hate that, so let's just say I keep it on axis as is, okay? I'll go ahead and save that change. And then I do have a tremolo before the amplifier. And the reason why I'm doing that is, yes, you can assign different amp and pedal settings to a switch, depending on what amp and pedal that is. And you can turn on and off like a tremolo, for example, which this amp does have. But what I found was when I'm setting up different scenes, I was not able to access anything about the tremolo on the amp. So therefore I had to add in a separate tremolo pedal, which I'm perfectly fine with. The tremolo on the amp does sound good, but I don't think it's any different than an actual pedal itself. So here's a good example of this. And you notice some switching there. So when I'm going to a clean sound, not to give it fully away, but when I'm going to a clean sound, I do have it more on the neck or the in-between type pickup selections. And that also helps reduce the gain a little bit further to the amp to get a clean sound. And I do have a tube screamer in there when I go to my lead scene. But the real magic of this rig is the graphic EQ before the amp and also the graphic EQ after the amplifier. And basically what I'm doing is I'm bringing down the gain of the graphic EQ, which is reducing the input level to the amplifier and therefore getting less gain on the amp itself. Even though I'm technically not touching the gain at all, I have it set to 20% right now, which is probably about 2 or 3 on the dial. By reducing the graphic EQ gain, it's like turning your volume knob down on your guitar, but it's already built into the rig or the scene that you have called up. And since I'm reducing signal to the input of the amp, I'm probably losing a little bit of volume. So I'm making up for that by boosting about 3 dB or so. It doesn't matter if it's 3.3 or whatever. Just kind of use your ears on that. I'll make it 3.0 just for consistency's sake. So you're not only adding volume, but you also get the opportunity to shape the sound of your clean after the amplifier with a nice EQ, which you may not be able to do all the time on an amp in the first place. So if I want some more brightness, I could probably go in and add some 4K. Maybe I want to add some low end thump here with some 250 and 125. Right? I can bypass that. And I'm not hating that at all. So I'm going to save that, tweaking things as we go, which is perfectly fine. And I expect you to do something similar. And then on the CL delay, what this means is I actually have two scenes on the same switch. So if I hit it the first time, which is just green, it's basically just a clean sound. And that sounds nice. And then I could turn on my delay by hitting the switch a second time. And this happens to be yellow. You can change that by hitting hardware assign and then going into edit. And you can see I have my second switch state and then my first switch state right there between those two blocks. Okay, so for my second switch state, I could keep it yellow. I could have it orange. Let's go with orange actually, because that's kind of fun. And there's no right or wrong for this. So now you can see I'm going from green to orange. So maybe your first row or your first scenes across the bottom here, they're all green. And then I could have the rhythm. If I hit it a second time, that might bring in maybe a phase pedal that I could have in the rig. Or on my lead, I can have a auto wall type setting just by hitting the switch a second time, which I don't have anything assigned at the moment, nor do I have an auto wall option in there right now. But that's just all things that you could easily add yourself. All right, so let's go through our sounds here. And like I said before, when I'm going to the cleaner scenes, I'm switching my pickup selection most likely to the neck pickup, if not maybe the fourth position or the second position, which is going to be a split coil option on the humbuckers I have on this Kiesel guitar. Okay, you can definitely tell it's very bright. So maybe, just for example, I like the extra thump I get on the low end, but I'm going to bring down the high end here, back where I had it before. Okay, here's the neck position. So you can hear that if I pluck lightly, then I still get a nice clean sound, especially if I go to position 4. There's your very, very clean option there. But then if I kick it over to the bridge position, even though I still technically have it on a clean sound, you get a little bit more hair going on. Okay, so you can do a lot just by changing the pickup selection on your guitar. But then we go to tremolo, and it's the same kind of clean sound, but with tremolo now. Okay. Then when I go to my rhythm sound, I'm going to kick it to my bridge position. This is going to give me a good crunch rhythm sound. Okay, not too bad. And then my lead sound, you'll notice, is going to add in the tube screamer. Let's just say, for example, I went to my neck pickup. Okay, or I went to my fourth position. Okay, so it's not totally clean, but it still gives me not as much gain as the full brunt of my bridge pickup here. So I'm basically saying there's a lot of nuance in this rig, that even though on the surface it looks very simple, there's a lot going on with the different gain stages between the EQs and your pickup selection. Okay, let's move on to another rig that I made just a while ago, and I experimented by switching out the amp and also doing a 2x cab, which is basically the same cab, but I have a Dyne 7 off axis. Then I did an SM57 on axis, and that's giving me my brighter sound there. So going back to clean, I'm doing the same kind of gain structure with the graphic EQs before and after the amp. gain on the amp is about 30%. And I also experimented with the different versions of the tread plate. I did try the vintage, the raw, and the modern. The vintage sounds really good. The raw is a little weak, but you can make it work. And the modern is obviously the most gain you can have kind of deal. Even though the gain is technically at 30%, you still have a lot of gain on tap here. So, for example, this is what we're working with on the lead channel. Okay, a lot going on there, I know. So here's the rhythm. Ooh. And notice there's an extra 10-band EQ in here, so we'll go over that here in a second. Here's the tremolo, kind of working backwards. Going to my neck pickup. I mean, that's a beautiful clean sound right there. Okay, then we got the clean with no trim. I could hit it again and add in my delay. Oh, yes. Okay, so what's going on with the extra 10-band EQ? I went into, first of all, I added the pedal. Then you have to go into your hardware sign, click edit, and make sure that 10 frequency EQ is on for both the rhythm and the lead. And just like this EQ right here can be used to shape the sound after the amp, you can see I'm boosting it by 3 dB. Once again, I can also boost a little bit of low end if I want to. Maybe I'm getting too much brightness in the really top end, so I can bring that down by about 3 dB or so. And this is what we get back on our clean sound. Okay, going back to tremolo. Oh my gosh, this sounds so good. Okay. Amazing. Okay, here's the rhythm. Okay, let's check our clean versus dirty volumes here. Okay, we're getting a little hot in the output, so let's bring this back down. I might have bumped this up, but now it's too loud. So. Okay, I try to stay around that 0 mark as much as possible. Let's hear the rhythm. Okay, that's doing fine for me as well. So yeah, really that 10-band EQ, there's different presets in here that you can choose from. Here's one that I made a while ago. So like the amp shaper gives you a little bit more mid-range at 500 and 1K with also a boost at 60 and 125. It's just all choices. You know, you can experiment with this. Like a drive boost, if you want to put that before your amplifier. Right, that sounds way too bright after the amp, but if you put it before the amp, it would sound really cool. So yeah, lots of good options in here. Let's go back to Chugga. So we got a gentle boost, about 4 and 8K, and then a little boost at 125. Which I'm perfectly fine with, okay? So we've taken what we did in the first rig, which featured the JCM 800, which also cleaned up really nice. And now we're using a higher gain Mesa Boogie amplifier and getting really great results from similar techniques and ways of working the gain stage. Once again, guys, this is going to be a rig I will include in this month's HTS Rigs course for June 2024. I mean, you could go and add in a Bogner amp. You could add in an orange, maybe channel 1 or channel 2 amplifier. Experiment with the PV51-2 amplifier in there. They got the Engel stuff. You could take a Tweed amp from Fender and have a high gain sound and then a low gain sound just by turning on a graphic EQ and then dropping the gain on that pedal. So all kinds of great options. And I'll probably do more videos like this showing you examples like that. And then I'll just be sure to upload them to the site in the future. So if you want to download all these, pay for the HTS Rigs course on my website, or better yet, get the full Headrush bundle, which gives you access to all the rigs, and also the Headrush Tone Sculpting course, which goes through every single amp, cab, microphone, and pedal option on the Prime, Core, pedal board, gig board, and MX5. So thanks guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe down below and click the bell. And until next time, I'm Dr. McFarland. I will see you in the next video. Keep rocking.